Hi everyone, welcome to Every Day, your daily stop for virtual reality content. I am Dee, and today we're going to be looking at what has been called the one of the most complete and polished experiences for the Rift. It is currently and has been for some time the most popular game on Oculus Share, and it's called Lunar Flight. Now, Lunar Flight is at once a very fun game to play and also extremely frustrating. It's very difficult, and it's inevitable the first few times that you try and play it that you will screw it up. Um, Before I get into the game, though, I want to go through a little bit of a history lesson. So, Lunar Flight, first of all, it's produced by Shopsoft or Shovsoft. It's a independent game company in Brisbane, Australia. Mainly founded and mostly run by a guy named Sean Edwards, who goes by the handle Shovor or Shalvor. He's had help from a few people with that, but it's mostly his company. And he created this game as kind of his vision of the 3D extension of a 1979 Atari classic game known as Lunar Lander. Now, Lunar Lander was one of Atari's earliest games. It came out in 1979. It used a vector display, which means that everything in the game is drawn using short line segments on a special display, special vector display that's sort of like an oscilloscope. It was not very popular, actually. They didn't make a lot of money off it, but a lot of the technology, a lot of the ideas that went into it ended up going into Asteroids, which was a lot more successful as an arcade game. So just to give you a feeling for kind of the history that went into this, I'm going to actually play a little bit of the original Lunar Lander on an arcade simulator. Alright, here we are. This is MAME, the arcade emulator, and we are playing the original 1979 Lunar Lander. You see our landing module over there on the left. It is falling towards the ground. Down at the bottom is the lunar surface. This is a 2D game, of course. You can see everything's drawn using short line segments, and in the original game, these were drawn very precisely. Line segments, unlike on a raster display, they don't have any aliasing. They didn't have any problems like that. The only problem is that you could only draw outlines of things. You couldn't really draw pictures. I'm going to go ahead and insert a coin. So this is an arcade-based system. You insert coins to play. And then I'm going to start the game. I'm going to be using my Xbox 360 controller to play it. So this is played on the moon. So on the moon, there is no atmosphere, or very little atmosphere. And that means that once you're heading in a certain direction, you're going to keep on heading that direction unless you apply some kind of thrust to change your direction. So here I'm applying thrust by using the right shoulder button of my Xbox 360 pad, and that's changing my horizontal and vertical speed. And I can also adjust the angle of my Lunar Lander, which also uses a little bit of fuel, but not very much. Now, I don't have very much fuel. I only have a limited amount, so I have to be very careful how I use it to ensure that I don't run out. As I approach the ground, it will zoom in and give me a better idea of what it looks like. And I have to make sure that my speed when I hit the ground is as slow as possible so that I don't destroy my craft. So I've almost got my vertical speed down to a safe level here. If I hit too hard, it will either destroy my craft or just disable my life support systems, and I've got a one-way trip. Almost there, almost there, almost there. And there we go. It says, you landed hard, your trip is one way. So even though it looked like a really soft landing, that's not good enough for Lunar Lander. Lunar Lander is extremely demanding. In the original Lunar Lander, your horizontal speed is actually not constant. It seems to slow down a bit, as though there were some kind of small atmosphere. That might be just to make it a little bit easier. I'm not sure. But in the remakes and stuff, they usually don't have you losing horizontal speed like they do in the original. I'm going to go for that big, easy, flat area. I'm going to see if I can land properly. And I'm using my thrusts. And the way the original game worked is you're given a certain amount of fuel, and every time you start a new level, you keep having the same amount of fuel that you finished the last level with. And the only way you could get more fuel, you guessed it, you insert another quarter. So this was very much a game where you're paying for as if you play badly, you have to pay for more fuel, and so your skill level determined how long you could play off a single quarter. All right, slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. Take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. Woo! Congratulations, the Columbia has landed. 100 points. So that was an actual good landing in that case. I'm getting pretty low on fuel now, so I'm going to put in another coin. There we go. Got another 750 fuel or so. And I'm going to try and land on one of those 5x spots. If I can manage to land on those tiny little 5x platforms, I get a bonus. And let's see if I can do that. Come on, come on. Come on, almost there, almost there. So just gotta zoom in so I can get a closer look at what I'm doing here. Don't want to ram into the mountainside. That would destroy me for sure. Come on, come on, come on. Okay. Okay, okay, gotta adjust it, gotta adjust it. Oh dear, rotating the wrong way. Okay, hang tight, hang tight, hang tight. Come on, come on. Oh god. Oh god. This is not gonna work. Ugh. Come on. Oh yeah. It says, congratulations, that was a great landing. So I did it. I did not think I would actually pull that off. So just so you see what it looks like when you fail horribly, which is what you normally do in this game, I'm going to ram myself into a mountainside here. And this looks like a nice mountainside to die on. And there we go. Boom. Auxiliary fuel tanks destroyed. There were no survivors. So on top of dying horribly, you also lose quite a bit of fuel, which, if you recall, equals quarters in this game, or money. So they definitely punish you for making those hard landings. Anyway, so now that you've seen what it looks like in the arcade, we're going to take a look at how this has been adapted to the Rift. Alright, here we are. Entering the game. We are in space. Waiting for it to load. I've got my Xbox 360 controller. I highly recommend you play with the Xbox 360 controller. Makes it a lot easier to play. Just because you have analog control over things like your turning and your thrust. If you don't, then you have to be pressing and unpressing it a lot, and that gets annoying. So here we are, Lunar Flight. There's the Earth watching over us, and here's the moon all around us. There is the landing pad that we will be landing on. That's our lunar landing module. You can see a guy in there in an astronaut suit, and that's going to be us inside that lunar landing module. Let's go ahead and get started. Selecting profile, single player. There's several increasingly difficult maps to play on with different stations and stuff. I'm just going to start with the easy because this game is actually pretty hard even on easy mode. Just going to load it up. Just a reminder, you're seeing this game in 1080p. I'm seeing it in 1280-800 inside the Rift because this is Rift Development Kit 1. So as you can see, I have an avatar. So when I'm sitting in my chair, I see it sitting in the same position. That gives me a good feeling of immersion. It's got an Xbox 360 controller too, which seems a little bit silly since we're on the moon, but I think it's actually helpful because if I forget like where the buttons are, I can just look down at my controller without having to take my headset off. And on all sides, there are screens, there are controls, and I have to use all of these screens and controls to play the game, and my windshield. So it's very much an environment that uses your entire environment as part of the gameplay. So I'm going to start by looking at the power button all the way on my right and hitting Y button to press it. It immediately starts up some chatter on the radio. That doesn't actually mean anything, it's just random stuff. You don't have to listen to it. There's a fuel gauge right in front of me. I'm actually going to refuel before I head out. Get up to 1,000. There we go. Above me is a camera. It can display what's ahead of me. It can display overhead cam. It can display an top-down overview of the whole crater. This displays my destination point, and I believe that's it. I think one of them's a rear-facing camera. I'm not sure how this works. Down here, this is my navigation. I'll show you more about how that works in a minute. Basic idea is if I'm headed towards base A, base alpha, this will tell me which direction to go and how far I have to go to get there. Likewise, base beta, Charlie, Delta. I'm already at base Delta, so it just tells me I'm there. And it also highlights it on my screen there. So there's alpha, there's beta, and over there is Charlie. Each one has a landing pad and a tower. So over here, so one of the problems with this game is it's not very well documented. It doesn't have a tutorial mode, so you really have to kind of figure it out. I think it's really helpful to watch someone else play. So I'm going to show you how to do a couple of the common tasks in this game. You start out by going over here to mission and select that. And then it's going to list you some missions on the screen. There's 6 missions available at any given time at any given base. There are 3 types of missions. Transport missions, where you have to pick up cargo at one base and take it to another base. There's data survey, which is where you have to go to a specific location on the map, and you have to hover there for some time while you collect the data from that location, and then you have to take it back to one of the bases. And lost cargo, which is where cargo has been lost somewhere out on the map. They don't tell you exactly where. You have to go fly over there and detect it using your lander module and then retrieve it. I've never actually succeeded in completing a lost cargo mission, so I'm not going to be showing that today, but I will be showing the other 2 types of missions. So we're going to start out by transporting 8,000 cargo. No, kind of alpha. Alpha will be a little bit easier because it's straight across the crater from us. So let me cycle over to alpha. So we need to transport 2,000 cargo to alpha, and if we do that, we get $2,500 and 250 pilot XP. And we get a bonus because of how far away it is. So let's go ahead and start that mission by hitting the start button. Once we accept the mission, we have to load the cargo. Oh, we automatically load the cargo. So the 2,000 cargo are now in our cargo hold. And it's time to start by taking off. I'm going to go ahead and hold down the right shoulder button. R2, that's going to lift me off. The farther I push it down, the more I lift off. I'm going to push forward on my left control stick. That's going to start pushing me forward. If I let go of the right control stick, just like in Lunar Lander, I'll continue to move with the same velocity horizontally, but I'll start to be pulled down towards the ground by the lunar gravity. So my vertical rate will drop. So I'm watching all these numbers as I go. They're all very important. Radar altitude tells me how far I am above the ground directly below me. V rate tells me my vertical rate, how fast I'm going up or down. I want to keep that reasonably low so that I'm not like soaring up into the air or falling really quickly. And velocity just tells me my overall horizontal velocity, maybe my overall, I think it's actually overall velocity. And I don't want that to get too fast, because if I do, I actually won't be able to slow down before I get to my target. So about halfway across the crater, I want to start slowing down my horizontal velocity so that I'll actually be able to reach my destination. So I'm gonna hold down the R shoulder button just a little bit, and that keeps my vertical rate at about 0. So I'm just hovering straight across the crater, which is what I want to do. I'm going to want to start falling a little bit at this point because I'm up pretty high. Still slowing down. Actually, don't want to slow down quite this much. And if you see that green circle on my windshield tells me the point that I'm headed to if I keep my current velocity. So I want to head straight for the lunar landing pad. Right where that green, get this green circle inside that green circle. And I'm currently dropping at a gradual rate, while I'm also moving with a high velocity. I'm using up quite a bit of fuel while I'm doing this. I started with 1,000, and I'm almost to the halfway fuel point. Fuel costs money, so I don't want to waste fuel. I have $64,000 right now. There's my landing pad. Overhead map says I'm almost there. I'm going to want to switch this to the overhead view. Alright, almost there, almost there. Don't want to come in too low because I might run straight into the landing pad. Okay, I'm going to slow down, slow down, slow down. Slow down. Got to get my velocity close to 0 as I come in. Get the overhead view going on so I can see myself coming in over the landing pad. Still dropping, still dropping, still dropping. Slowing down, slowing down. Almost there, almost there. Dropping a little bit more, dropping a little bit more, almost on the pad. My altitude is 0.5. Just lose a little bit more and I'll be right on the pad. There I am. I've made a landing. Unload my cargo. Unloading. And here comes my money. I got some glowy thing going around me because I completed the stage. I got my XP. I got my money. I'm up to $67,000. I got a bonus because of how far I had to go. And gonna go ahead and save my game. There we go. So that was my first mission. That was pretty straightforward. For my next mission, I think I'm going to do a survey mission, make it a little bit more difficult. I'm going to go over to my mission screen, and going to go through my missions here. Lost cargo, transport, data survey. Acquire data at survey location. So it doesn't tell me where the survey location is going to be until I accept the mission. Let me go ahead and refuel while I do that. Used up about 70% of my fuel. Got to get back up to 1,000. That's how much I can hold. There we go. And gonna want to accept mission 3 for data survey. And then I set this to nav S to tell me where the survey location is. So you can see it's where that circle is right there. Now remember that survey locations, they're actually not on the lunar surface. They tend to be hovering in the air above the lunar surface at some altitude. So you have to get there. You have to hover at that location. Then you have to hit acquire over on your left. When you do that, you'll begin to acquire data. A bar will fill up. Once it's acquired, you can head straight home. I think I'm going to actually head to the Bravo base over on the right-hand side after I acquire the data because it's closer. And I might be running short on fuel. So with no further ado, let's start the mission. So for this mission, I want to be facing the way I'm actually going. So I'm going to hit my R1 button. That's going to affect my yaw. So I start to rotate towards the survey zone. I find this just makes it a bit easier if I can see where I'm going. And then I'm going to go ahead and start heading over there with my left control stick. So the main things I use in this game are the left control stick, which affects my translation, XYZ, and also my my L1, R1 shoulder buttons, which affect my yaw. And I find it pretty hard to use the right control stick, which affects my pitch and roll, because once I start to pitch and roll, everything just gets really disorienting and confusing, and it's pretty hard to get myself back on track. So I need to head towards the survey zone, need to get the green circle inside there. Gonna rotate a little bit this way. Got my velocity going. Got to keep my velocity up if I want to keep my fuel consumption reasonable, but if I have too much velocity, I'll overshoot my destination. So there's always that careful balance going on. There's the sun. This must be like solar shielded glass panels or something, because that sun is not burning me alive. Okay, I need to start slowing down now, because I am approaching the survey zone. I gotta get myself inside that green sphere. The survey zone in the green sphere, I think, is 10 meters all around the survey point. I need to keep my lander inside that sphere while I acquire the data. Alright, almost there. Okay, dropping my velocity. I'm inside the sphere now. Need to keep my velocity way down, close to 0. Alright, acquire. My yellow light's on. I'm acquiring data. Acquiring data. And got it. Alright, let's get out of here to base Bravo. Alright, I got the data, and I just used up 50% of my fuel. So I'm going to have to use my remaining fuel to make a safe landing before I crash and burn. If I run out of fuel, I have no way to adjust my direction, so my craft will just keep going in whatever direction it's currently going, and it will accelerate rapidly towards the lunar surface, which is bad news for everybody. Alright, coming in fast. I don't want to come in like right in the middle because I might accidentally catch my lunar lander's leg on the side of the platform, and that'll just tilt me like crazy. So I like to come in a little bit high. Gonna give myself an overhead view. And you can see how much I use just all of this stuff all around me, and the way that they incorporate your entire environment into the gameplay, I think, is part of what makes this game so cool. Alright, coming in, nice and slow, nice and slow. Altitude 2. Altitude 1. Oops, I'm going too fast. Going too fast. Slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. Okay, just drop. Just drop. Just drop nice and easy. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. There we go. Nice soft landing. No damage to the craft. Did use a lot of fuel though. I used like 80% of my fuel, so I gotta recharge, refuel. And upload the data. Upload in the data that I acquired in my survey. Bingo! There's my money. I'm making a living on the moon. Saving my game. Got a full tank of fuel. So now I've shown you how to do those two types of missions. Like I said, I'm not going to show you lost cargo. I might save that for another video once I figure out how to do it properly. Basically, like I said, you just hover in a certain area of the map, waiting for the lost cargo, and wait for the blue light to turn on. When that happens, that means you're near the cargo, and you can go recover it and get it back to base. What I'm actually going to show you now instead is what happens when you do not do it correctly, as I've been doing it. And when you make some small mistakes, what can go wrong with things in Lunar Lander. Or Lunar Flight, sorry. So, first of all, what happens if I'm heading out from my base and I accidentally run into one of these wires on this tower over here? So I'm just heading over this way, minding my own business, and then suddenly, oops, oh god. And I'm trying to get out of it. I'm using my thrust, but I'm going all the wrong way. And what's happening? I'm like upside down, trying to use my right stick to adjust myself back up to the right orientation. But the world is all topsy-turvy now. And now I'm heading completely in the opposite way, the wrong way. Trying to adjust myself. Uh-oh, that's my warning light. That means I'm too close to the surface. And I exploded. these are the cargo things that I exploded near. There's my landing pad, which I did not actually make it very far away from. And that's what happens when you do it wrong. Now if you... This is where I last saved, right after I completed the previous mission. Now, I'm going to show you what happens if I head over to the other pad. And as I head over there, if I just keep accelerating my velocity and I never slow down, and if I come in going way too fast, things can turn out very poorly if I do this. So my velocity is increasing. I'm going to just assume this is like meters per second. So I'm going 4 meters per second, 5 meters per second, keeping myself at a constant altitude. There we go. 7 meters per second. So I'm heading straight towards base, I think that's base Charlie over there. Yeah, that's base Charlie. And I'm up to 9 meters per second. You can see I just passed right through the center. I'm still accelerating, 10 meters per second. So at this point it looks like I'm doing fine so far. But if I try and slow down now, I'll find I'm actually going way too quickly. I can't slow down fast enough to even land here. I'm going 10 meters a second, 9 meters a second. My thrust is just not able to compensate for the enormous speed I've accumulated at this point. So I'm trying to slow down, but I can't. I'm going too fast. And now I'm running right into this mountainside, and I'm trying to slow down, but I'm still going too fast. And I try and push my thrust so I get up towards the mountainside to give myself a bit more time to slow down, but I'm still going too fast. I can't slow down. And, oh god. Oh god. Okay, well, nice knowing you, everybody. And that was a horrible crash. So yeah, there's base Charlie that I overshot. So you gotta be careful to keep your speed under control, or else you can end up in a terrible situation. But I mean, you have to keep your speed up or you'll run out of fuel and you'll fall to the ground and perish. So there's always this constant, very careful and stressful trade-off going on in this game. And finally, say I'm going to the landing pad, and I'm right above the landing pad. I'm just going to say, oh yeah, I'm above the landing pad now, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop right down onto the landing pad. And this is to show you what happens when you drop onto the landing pad without worrying about the speed you're coming in at vertically. Gravity is now reasserting itself very slowly, lunar gravity being 1/6 of the Earth's gravity. And I'm beginning to fall down, beginning to fall down, beginning to fall down. And I'm gonna come in, so my warning light's on, that's telling me I'm coming in too fast. And I'm trying to slow down, but I'm not. So I came in at about -2 meters a second there. And you can see I've got a lot of sparks flying, things are flickering here. I've got some heavy damage to my craft. So the only way I can deal with that is to spend some of my money on repairing my craft. And to do that, I'm going to hit repair. My hull was at, I think, about 60-70%. Now it's back to 100%. I'm going to refuel. 93%, up to 1,000. So that's the best case. If you come in quite a bit too fast, you just have to repair your craft at the base station. That's assuming you land at a base station. If you land in the middle of the moon and you're damaged, well, in that case, you're just kind of screwed. Now I'm going to come in too fast again. I'm going to come in going a little bit faster. I'm going to get myself up to somewhere around 4 meters a second coming in. And just that small difference can make a huge difference to what your crash experience is like and whether you can survive it or not. So we're still going up, still going up, still going up. Lunar gravity very slowly reasserting itself. I think this game will be a lot harder to play on Earth just because the gravity is so much more. So it's nice to play it on the moon. It's nice just to kind of be on the moon. You have this really, like, this atmosphere is amazing. You have, with the music and the gray everywhere and the sun shining out from the stars, you have this really bleak feeling of emptiness. Just like I think you would if you were really a Lunar Lander operator on the moon. And in we come, in we come. I'm going to slow down a little bit. And it's crashing time. And there we go. Even though I landed right on the pad, I was coming in way too fast. And that was my complete destruction right there. So you really have to watch your vertical velocity when you're coming in. And that's all I'm going to show you guys for now. I'm going to go ahead and come out now of the game. Okay, so here I am back on planet Earth. Things are a bit less desolate here. And like I said, I think this is a great game. I think it's very well deserving of its reputation. And it's got a lot of things going for it. It's got the seated model. The seated model works really well for VR. If you're seated in real life, you're wearing the headset, you feel like your avatar is you. They give you an avatar. And you feel like, as you look around, your controls for the craft affect the orientation of the craft. So your body's not actually moving, which also reflects what your body's doing in real life, not actually moving. So these seated games in cars, in planes, even in wheelchairs, and in Lunar Lander modules, gives you kind of an authentic feeling that you're seated in one place, not moving, but you're controlling something that is moving, that is doing stuff. And I think that's going, not all the VR experiences are going to be you sitting in one place, and you can walk around as I've shown you in previous demos, but it gives you a really authentic feeling when it reflects what you're really doing in real life. I think that just the atmosphere is amazing. Like I said, you have this really bleak feeling. The music just reinforces that. The radio chatter gives you a feeling like you're really like just a person who's working on this lunar base. Just kind of a regular Joe Schmo working on the lunar base, getting his measly salary for every job he completes. I think I really like how they make the entire environment part of the controls for the game. It's not just eye candy to look at. It's actually like you have to be watching every part of your environment. You have to be using the screens above you and below you and adjusting the controls as you fly, as you complete the missions. And I think we'll be seeing a lot more VR experiences where you really incorporate the entire environment into the gameplay and the controls for the game. It's not just all on your controller. And again, I think this reflects what you would see in real life. Like if you're playing a VR-based flight simulator, you would expect it to have all the controls you would see in a real plane. Like a really strict, like realistic flight simulator. You would want to like see them like they look in a real plane. You'd want to manipulate them like you would in a real plane. And that prepares you so much better for like a real plane experience. And like I said, this is a really frustrating game. The first few times I played it, I just horribly crashed. And I was completely disoriented as my craft spun out of control and I was trying to save it and I couldn't. You should be prepared for some amount of learning curve getting into it, especially since it, like I said, doesn't really have a tutorial mode or documentation. Let me see. One thing that's ways this is different from the original Lunar Lander, besides being in VR and 3D, obviously, you can land your craft anywhere. On the original Lunar Lander, most of the surface was not a place you could land it. Here, you can't really land it on a steep surface, but a lot of the surface is a place you can land it. That's not usually very useful, but there are cases where you might want to do it. And on the original Lunar Lander, you were just kind of looking for any flat place on the moon to land your craft. There was no base. And here they make it a lot more strictly controlled. There are a few very specific locations where you can land, and if you can land there, you can get that refueling. Obviously, you're not inserting quarters to get fuel. So I think it's a great improvement on and iteration over the original game, while still being very much in the spirit of the original game. Also, the other thing is your horizontal velocity, I believe, is fixed. I don't think you slow down your horizontal velocity like you did in the original game. I might be wrong about that. But yeah, like I said, if you have a Rift or if you're getting a Rift, you absolutely need to play this game. It's one of the top games. Just be prepared for some frustration, some amount of learning curve. And and I think it will be a big inspiration to a lot of the games that are yet to come for the platform. So with that, I will see you guys next time, and everybody have a great every day.